Well, virgin, back in the day before the Indo-Europeans took over and took over what was called pagan religion, which was goddess religion, which was matrilineal, um, virgin meant a woman sovereign unto herself, independent, free, autonomous. There were even rituals where women would gather together and take their own virginity. They would go out into the fields. Earth was always so important to the female and our experience. And with stones, that they were shaped like lingams, they would take their own virginity. So virgin is a powerful word that I think needs to be reclaimed. And I love that that's one of your words.
I loved it because I think the virgin, the virgin I get and I relate to from that like innocence and purity level of learning. I think we've also commodified that for women in this and fetishized that for women in this culture and in other cultures. So curiosity for me is one of my key values in life. Like, I feel like I'm a lifelong learner, and that curiosity about myself and others is like my secret ingredient. Like if I don't feel curious about something, I'm not engaged, I'm not excited. And that virgin mindset, by the way, it's really interesting. Actually, it just made me think of this in the course that we're going to be exploring around success and ambition. I actually think what's interesting is when you achieve a certain amount of success in the world publicly, right? Sometimes I've talked to some great successful people who feel like they don't have any room for the virgin mindset. Like, you have to know all the time. You have to be an expert in this and know all these things. And I fell into that for a while. Like, I can't be vulnerable about this. I can't say I don't know this. And now I've done a complete turnaround where I'm like, I am so embracing. If I don't understand what you said, I'm asking. If I don't know, I'm going to say, I don't know. Let me get back to you. Like, that has given me such freedom to be a beginner at any stage of life. And so you're right. That made me think of that too. I think that's an amazing mindset.
Virgin is also a really interesting word because of just kind of the societal meanings of the word and representing like pure. And as someone who was sexually abused, like, your purity almost gets taken away from you because of the society's meaning of it. So it's a word I don't connect with at all.
There was one, a virgin, stick to me.
And what came up for you there?
Oh gosh, well, for me, it was for some reason, it was a space in which is related to innocence and being tainted, and the fact of the matter that the outside or the others kind of taint the innocence. And it was always innocent in the beginning. So for me, those things kind of rised up and kind of came up and intrigued me, absolutely. Even through my own experience, I realized that there was an element of me that wanted to protect me. And it was revealed that there was an incident of a boy touching my bum, and I didn't want to be humiliated. So you would be astonished in how little bits and bobs actually stick onto you and attach to you. And so, yeah, it's...
Wow. I feel like I'm also hearing you say, Vanessa, that no matter what the outside does, there's parts of you, your innocence, that can never be touched. And that is always with you, right? So we have all these things that happen to us, people, evading our private space, our body, unwanted touching, that no matter what happens, you have a piece of you, your own sense of virginity and purity and whatever that means to you, that is a core of a part of you that can't be touched by anyone else, that we can all still preserve that and honor that. And also fight for a world where people don't touch you when you don't want to be touched.
And that's true. And that is so true, because that space where you have that authenticity, you when you go to that space whereby, like, for example, you're doing a job or something that's not concurrent with who you are, that's because that innocence still lives, that still breathes and still is there. And, you know, it's when you go deep and find out more and more, you can reveal more and more, you know. So it's always there. It's always there. Absolutely. Yes.
When I stop to think about it, I'm like, well, I should say beauty because that's all about what my book is about, changing that archetype and that definition. But the one that stood out to me was virgin, because I think there is power in reclaiming that word as a spiritual purity, more so than just this cultural construct of physical purity. As somebody who grew up in purity culture, of course, I was taught that virginity is something sacred, and there wasn't free will about what to do with my body and my sexual choices growing up, because free will requires fully informed choice and a lack of fear and shame-based manipulation. And so in purity culture, there is so much fear and shame-based manipulation. It is, if you don't do exactly what we say, you know, you will go to hell, blah, 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 right? So that is a big problem there. But as I've continued in my healing journey, I can see that there is that word speaks of spiritual purity, this ability to, or this connection to that divine wisdom within oneself, kind of sacred innocence and goodness, right? That does require the protection of healthy masculinity in the world. But when a person can live from that space of innocent goodness, that is like, that's been healing for me, to return to that space and change the definition of that word virgin.
I was laughing when I saw that was going to come up, because I was like all of them. So
That's okay too.
You know, at one time I was a freshly plucked flower.
Weren't we all?
One time, and it was wonderful. It really wasn't. It was awkward, and I was like, "Is that it?" You know, it was just all kind of weird, you know. And it was like, it wasn't like in the movies. This wasn't right, you know, and yeah, all that.
The boxes that you were talking about, right? Like, you know, about gender roles, like you're supposed to be virgins, which is ridiculous because it's cool for guys to sleep around, but for women, no, they're supposed to be virgins.
I mean, I certainly don't relate to virgin. Not only am I not one, but I also just don't really think it exists. If, you know, it's sort of like this culturally constructed thing that I'm always telling the teens doesn't really exist. But I find it interesting that on a podcast that, you know, talks about sex a lot, then that one of the archetypes wouldn't be something like slut or whore, because usually virgin and whore go together.
Title of your show, we do have these subconscious biases socially that we expect women to be either, you know, the virgin or the whore, right? And so it's one or the other. And I think motherhood can be conflicting for people as well, because, you know, men suddenly are faced with this idealized image of a woman that they can no longer now be sexually attracted to. So there's this conflict there as well. And I really do, from the bottom of my heart, believe that if women were able to truly show up empowered as strong sexual beings, then it would make complete sense. And I don't think it's about men necessarily not knowing what to do or how to behave in an interaction. I think there is an element of us as women being the teachers.
Absolutely.